We've been discussing on the Diamond Sutra for a few months now, and we have come to section 22, which is on page 23, section 22, or chapter 22. And another 10 sections away, then we'll finish Diamond Sutra. And then we'll continue with another sutra, the Siddhikapa Sutra. The Siddhikapa Sutra is more direct in its description about, especially about the inferno. Very clear description, very about the inferno. But before we go on to the Siddhikapa Sutra, trying to finish with the Diamond Sutra. Let's start with section 22 and read out the paragraph. Subhuti said to the Buddha, "Well-honored one." Well-honored one is the same as Bhagava, Bhagavate, Bhagava. Does your own attainment of supreme enlightenment mean that you have not gained anything whatsoever? The Buddha replied, "Just so, Subhuti, just so. I have not gained even the least dharma from supreme enlightenment, and this is called supreme enlightenment." The section 22. In the previous sections, the Buddha has been talking about the three bodies of the Buddha: the Dhammakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. Now the Buddha is talking about enlightenment itself, not the bodies, the enlightenment itself. So Subhuti said to the Buddha, "Well-honored one, your attainment of supreme enlightenment means that you have not gained anything whatsoever?" Supreme enlightenment is expediently so called for ease of understanding. It comes from supreme enlightenment. If you arrive at supreme enlightenment, it arises as a result of what? As a result of causality. All this variety of causes put together, then we attain something. Nothing comes without a cause. Nothing in this world is without a cause. Nothing is coincidental. Many causes put together to have something come true. It's just that the fact that you're coming here listening to the Diamond Sutra is not without a cause. Your success in anything is not without a cause. Your failure is not without a cause. You are sick is not without a cause. You are healthy is not without a cause. So you got to be careful with the causes. There's a saying in the Chinese Buddhism literature. Sentient beings are afraid of the effects, and they're not careful about the causes. Bodhisattvas they're afraid of the causes, especially bad causes, and they're willing to confront the effects. In other words, you have to be careful in what you're thinking and what you're doing, your conduct, your action, your speech, your thought. You have to be very careful that you don't cultivate the bad causes. What are these bad causes? Maybe you sow those bad causes and don't even know about it. What are these bad causes? Being angry, violent, jealousy, hatred, depression. You name them. All these mental afflictions, don't cultivate those causes. Those are bad causes. But a lot of people, they just don't careful. They're not careful about it. When they're not pleased, they just show the anger. When they hate, they just show the hatred. Or they express it by violence, by argument, by fighting. by revenge. They're not careful on the causes. Everything has a cost. So you be careful with what kind of cost you put into it. On the other hand, on the positive side, on the negative side, we already mentioned it. On the positive side, if you want something to be successful, have you put in all the causes to make it successful? You want a job. Just for taking an example, you're unemployed now. You want a good job. You want a job that you dream of. Have you put in all the causes that contribute to the creation of that job for you? Or you just sit home and wait for that telephone to ring? Have you got the training? Have you been lazy and not taking courses? Some people just say, oh, this is the job that I want, and they just read the newspapers or go to the placeman's office and try to look for it passively, without actively doing something to make those causes come true. What are these causes? Have you attempted to give yourself the education? No, my dad never gave me a chance to go to universities, and I'm poor. Fine, there's so many courses out there that may be free by the placement office. You can always do a lot of self-education. Have you been reading? Have you been educating yourself? Well, I have seen a lot of people who didn't have any university education, yet they are extremely erudite. That word? Yeah. Is that the word? Erudite. They're very learned, they are scholar, even though they haven't received any formal education. It's on yourself. It's you yourself that make the whole thing come true. Don't blame the world for it. Don't blame your family members. Don't blame the society. Blame yourself. Have you done all these causes that make your success come true? Or you just wait? So that means even supreme enlightenment is an effect of causality. Anything that comes true based on causality has a nature of emptiness. What is that nature of emptiness? It is impermanent, transient. It is not self-dependent. In other words, it depends on all causes put together. It has the nature of emptiness. It is void. It exists just for a short time. So, if we use that logic, supreme enlightenment is empty. All causes put together. The actual reality, whatever, let's put it this way, whatever can be obtained is not real. Whatever that is obtainable is not real. It's not real, but it exists. It does not mean that it's not real, it's a delusion. Like this thing, my fist is not real, it is. But it's not real. Why it is not real? It has, and my whole body has the nature of emptiness. Why? Because I only exist at the most for 100 years. My body is impermanent. I exist because of a lot of causes put together that results in my existence. Why? I haven't been sick. My parents came together to give me the body that I have, and I have been growing old. There's so many causes that make me sitting in here today. Nothing is without a cause. How does that help me in Buddhism? I know everything depends on causality. That is very useful. Germinate all these causes that make you become what you want to be. Positive thinking. What is this? Martin Luther King. I had a dream. I dream of this, I dream of that. I want that come true. What is that dream? All the causes put together. I want to put all these causes together to let our people to be free from discrimination. And I work towards it. I have a dream and I want this dream come true. All successful people believe in that. That's the magic of causality. That's the magic of the Buddhist teaching. Nothing about God that you blindly believe in. It's about how you create your own world. Do you want to create that world? Or you still depend on God, waiting at home for God to show up? That God phone call would say, John, come for an interview. That God phone call will not come until you push for it. Even if that phone call comes, you really have to build up all these causes. I got to go for an interview. Have I prepared myself? I got to dress properly, professionally. I got to prepare all the questions that I have to answer. I have to rehearse myself in answering those questions. Have I read about the interviewing techniques? Do I know the company that I'm interviewing for? I'm interviewing an ABC company, and the interviewer will ask me questions about ABC, and I say, I don't know anything about your company. Sorry, John. You don't know anything about our company and you want to work for our company? Next. On the other hand, if someone shows up, Bill, and he's extremely acquainted with the company's, even the operation, and the interviewer asked him, Bill, what do you know about us? Well, I know. You got a warehouse department, you have a marketing department, and you have a superb technology department. And that's the department I would like to work in, because I like technology. Or you're an accountant, you have an extremely good accounting department. Your accounts receivable is sound and safe. And I like to work with the general ledger of accounts receivable. You know everything about that company because you're prepared. You make all the causes come true. Have you made all the causes come true for your supreme enlightenment? Have you got the causes for enlightenment? So, you create your own world. Some people ask me, how good is the Buddhist teaching? Is it about prostration, kneeling, about meditation and sit there and doing nothing? No, you're mistaken it. It's about building up your confidence. It's about yourself. It's about your own mind. That's one of what the Buddha wants you to know about yourself. So the actual reality is not obtainable. The Buddha also points out the, if we want to say quote unquote, the negative side of the world, nothing is permanent. So the actual reality is not obtainable and should not be thought as such. There is nothing to be obtained. Anything obtainable cannot escape life and death. It's not obtainable, but it does not mean that you have to walk away from it. It's a fact. It's a fact of life. Supreme enlightenment has no form. How can anything formless be attainable? It's without a form. Enlightenment is without form. How can you obtain it? There is an ancient koan that goes like this. You know what a koan is? K-O-A-N. People know, but if you don't know about it, you check the internet. Koan. That is one day, Zhao Zhou, a Zen master called Zhao Zhou, visited and paid respect to Nan Chuan, another higher master in meditation. And Zhao Zhou, being the younger one, asked the master, Venerable Master, what is the way? I'm looking for the way. You know, W-A-Y, way. It's not a row. It doesn't mean a row. I'm looking for the row. I'm looking for that way of living, that way to enlightenment, that way can relieve my suffering and suffering of all sentient beings. I want to look for that way. What is the way, Venerable? And Nan Chuan replied, the unbiased mind is the way. The ordinary unbiased mind is the way. Venerable, how to realize this unbiased mind? Well, the more you think about obtaining it and realizing it, the further away you are from it, my son. So the more you think about it, the more you think about realizing it and getting it and obtaining it, the more it is walking away from you. And then Zhao Zhou said, if I don't think about realizing it, how do I know I have it or not? I got to think about it. I got to realize it. If I don't realize it, how do I know I have it or I haven't got it? How do I know? And Zhao Zhou thought that I got you this time, Master. If you don't know, how can you realize it? You got to know about it. And then Nan Chuan said, the way is not within the realm of knowing or not knowing. You cannot use the mentality of knowing or not knowing to realize the way. Knowing falls into the realm of conceptualization, and not knowing falls into the realm of neutrality, ignorance. So the way, the one who really knows the way is beyond knowing and not knowing. That's the one who really knows. Do you know what he's talking about? The one who really knows is the one who not attaching to knowing and not knowing. Well, you think about it. Remember the Heart Sutra says, therefore in emptiness there's no form, nor perception, nor conception, nor volition, nor consciousness, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or object of mind, no ear, eyes, nose, tongue, body, or mind. A lot of denial, a lot of no. You mean the sutra is stupid saying you got an eye and there's no eye? It's a detachment. It's continuously detaching yourself from all these mental afflictions that you have, that we have. And the Buddha replied, just so, Subhuti, just so, I have not gained even the least dharma from supreme enlightenment. And this is called supreme enlightenment. It is only expediently caused so that we understand it. Remember in section 7, the Buddha said, Subhuti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata obtained supreme enlightenment? Does the Tathagata give any teaching? And then Subhuti replied, as I understand the meaning of the Buddha's teaching, there is no fixed dharma called supreme enlightenment, and there is also no fixed dharma that Tathagata can expound. Why? The dharma which the Tathagata expounds or explains cannot be clung to, cannot be expressed in words. It is neither dharma nor not dharma. So, the real dharma cannot be clung to, cannot be attached to. Because the actual anuttara samya sambuddhi, the actual reality is beyond our discriminatory thinking. When we think, what do we use? What kind of mind we use? We use a discriminatory mind. This is good, this is bad, thick, thin, big, small, rich, poor, love, hatred. People like these things. People like the dichotomy of things. This is a bad guy, this is a good guy, I like this guy, I hate this guy. And all these all comes up from the mind. That's the mind that we're habitually using. And the Buddha said, that's not the right mind. We've got to know that's not the right mind. Let's get on to section 23. He continues, Zuputi, this Dharma is universal and impartial. It is called supreme enlightenment. The practice of all good virtues, dharmas, free from attachment to an ego, a personality, a being, and a life, will result in the attainment of supreme enlightenment. Suputi, the so-called good virtues, dharmas, the Tathagata says, are not good virtues, but are experiently called good virtues. The practice of Dharma is not just ordinary temporal virtues of the world. Dharma, the word Dharma is all comprehensive. It includes here, in this case, the Buddha's teaching. When we say Dharma, it means the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha's teaching contains not just practice of the virtues of the world. What are these virtues of the world? The morality of the world. Being compassionate, being helpful, not hurting your neighbors, and being beneficial to the society, be responsible, and all that. All these are virtues. These virtues are only temporal, secular virtues. Or this morality standard. Abstaining from killing, abstaining from sexual misconduct, abstaining from lying, abstaining from intoxicants, like alcohols and drugs and all that, and abstaining from stealing. All these virtues that the Dharma embraces, encompasses, in the strict sense, are not virtues. Why? Because if you perform those good deeds, you cultivate good causes, and what happens if you cultivate good causes? In your next life, you will go through a good effect of the reincarnated body, which means that this life, for example, I'm poor, but this life I'm extremely generous. I'm always giving. And in my next life, I'll be a rich man, maybe. In this life, I'm not killing any animals for food. I'm always releasing animals, releasing lives. In my next life, I could be a healthy person. So all these virtues, all these moralities would entitle me, would empower me to become a better medium of existence in my next life. But that doesn't help me to get to enlightenment. Why? Because you are still in the loop of reincarnation. Virtues should be helping you to be away from reincarnation, out of life and death altogether. Those are the real virtues. In this case, virtues are not virtues because they are not helping you to get out of reincarnation. They are helping you to better your next life. Those are not the real virtues. Those are only temporal, secular virtues. Those are good enough. How come people are different in this world? Some people are rich, healthy, have a good family, good looking, tall, clever, intelligent. They seem to get all the good attributes. How come? How come I'm not? How come I'm short, I'm ugly, I'm unhealthy, I'm poor, I don't have a good family, my dad is always drunk, my mom is irresponsible, how come I have an abusive childhood? How come there are all these differences? Because of what you have done in the past. Probably, just giving an example, you abused your children when you were in your past life. And this life, he or they abuse you again. It's a revenge loop. They become your dad. He was your child, and you abused him. now it's coming back to get you. It happened. In your last life, you were a rich person, but you didn't want to give. You have $1 million and you will only donate $10, $5. You want to keep the million to yourself, for my son, for my younger generation. I'm earning this money with all my efforts and I work very hard. Why should I give it out? Why should I help the poor? Maybe I'll just give $5. Your bank account is $5 million and you want to give $5. And you still need that donation receipt for tax deduction. You call up the office and how come I don't have that tax deduction? I need that $5. And the accountant said, only 20%, sir. 20% of $5 is $1. You don't want to give out anything. Don't laugh. I met a lot of people like that. And when they die, they cannot take anything with them. Nothing. They leave it all to their children. It comes easy for the children. You know what the children do? Ferrari, Mercedes, Rolls Royce. You are saving for the Ferrari. And they spend half of it, which is $2.5 million. They still have $2.5 million. And then he goes to the casino and they squander away another $500,000. You're not helping the younger generation by passing money to them. You should pass them the education, the advice, your compassion, helping them to build up their morality standard, helping them to understand the Buddha's teaching is like this. Nothing about superstition, about worshiping. It's about how you should be a nice person, a good person. How do you behave? So, the Dharma is universal and impartial. It is called supreme enlightenment. And then the practice of good virtues is not good virtues. Why? Because they don't help you to get out from the karma world. They only help you to become a better individual. They're good enough. Virtues are better than bad deeds. Good deeds are extremely, of course, better than bad deeds, but they are not ultimate. They are not the ultimate help for you to get away from life and death. So they are, in the strict sense of the word, not entirely virtues. There's something more to it. Even virtues don't attach to them. Now I have been generous. I donated. Now I have $5 million, and after thinking about for a long time, I like to donate $1 million to build something good at UBC, for example. Or I donate $1 million to the Cancer Society to set up a good fund. I've become more generous. See, I have $5 million. Now I'm willing to donate $1 million. And you know what will happen? Because of my donation, next life I will be richer. I will be better. What are you attaching it to now? You are attaching it to your next life. That's the virtue. But there's a lot of attachment to it. There's not the real virtue. And you also tell the university, I want my name to be inscribed on a stone in front of the building. Mr. So-and-so donated this in 2009, and his name will be forever mentioned. Because there's a lot of attachment to it. Unconditional virtues. So here it talks about the so-called good virtues are not the good virtues. They are expediently called good virtues because they don't lead you to the path of ultimate enlightenment. So the virtues that you should be doing is those that will lead you out from this world of suffering. But those good virtues are the foundation that you have to build on. In other words, you have to be kind, you have to be compassionate, you have to be responsible. You must be, if you're a mom, you have to be a responsible mom. If you're a worker, you're a responsible worker. You do all those that's required of you to achieve that morality standard. That's the basic. And you do it unconditionally, not looking for return. You're just doing it because you think that that would render compassion to all sentient beings. And then, but you have a higher level. You want to go beyond life and death. No more reincarnation for you. Even if I come back as another Warren Gwant, you know Warren Gwant? Of course, one of the richest men is Warren Buffett. But Warren Gwant comes back again as another rich man in this world. I don't want to be like that. I want to get out from this world. I want to get out from reincarnation. I want to get out from suffering. I want to help others to get out from suffering. I don't want to be a rich guy. You know what happened? If I continue to give and be generous and give, in my next life I would even be richer. And I don't know how to handle that kind of money. And usually if I have a lot of money, I may do a lot of bad deeds. Why? Because if I have a lot of money, if I become famous, if I have status, a lot of ladies will be coming to me. I'll be in trouble. My phone will always be ringing. And not just ordinary ladies. Ladies who are enticing, who will be charming me, they will be all coming. I will be too busy. I don't want that. I will stay away from that. If I do that, I will get into the loop of misconduct. I will be creating bad karma. You see, it's not good to be too rich. There's a poem in the Chinese saying. I translate it for you word for word without a rhythmic sound to it. I'm a poor monk, and I said it all the time. But I'm not actually poor. I'm poor on the outside, but I'm rich in the inside. I'm poor on the outside because I'm always wearing rags, dirty clothes, old clothes, worn-out clothes. But in my heart, I have that diamond in me, that diamond of enlightenment. That shines all the way. So it does not matter to be poor, as long as you have food to eat, you have shelter. Devote all your time for enlightenment. Devote all your time for a better understanding. You don't need a lot of money. As long as you support yourself, you're not starving, that's enough. The richness is not in material. The richness is in the peace of mind, in the mind.